Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Knutson with Fairfax County's Department of Transportation, and I want to welcome you to this meeting tonight to discuss the traffic calming plan for Forestville Drive. We can begin with introductions, and tonight we have Camilla from the Drainsville District Supervisor's Office, and from FCDOT we have Anna, Grace, Banaz, and Nicole. Nicole has a short presentation to run through, and afterwards, if any of the community task force members are logged on, they can identify themselves during the Q&A that follows the presentation. So if you're ready, Nicole, you can begin the presentation.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. We are here tonight to discuss and explain the traffic calming process for Forestville Drive. So first, I will go over a couple of things before I begin. Please note that this session is being recorded. Please hold all questions to the end of the presentation, and the instructions for how to ask the questions will be provided at the end of the presentation. So today, we are here to explain the traffic calming process, provide an opportunity for community feedback, and answer any questions you all may have. So let's begin. What traffic calming is. Traffic calming is installation of physical devices to reduce the vehicle speed. These devices can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices are driven over, such as a speed hump shown in the upper left-hand image. And while you can drive around horizontal devices, such as a raised median island, which is shown in the upper right image. Both types of devices make the road safer for both drivers and pedestrians. I also want to note that through this process, we are not permitted to install stop signs. Here we have charts and images showing the effects of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. Also, with reduced speed, we come to a significant reduction in the number of severity of crashes involving motor vehicles. And here we have a countywide map showing that within traffic calming, we have over 200 projects resulting in 500 devices countywide. Every district has devices, and chances that you have driven over one is pretty high. The upcoming program can be broken into 5 steps. Step 1 is project initiation. Step 2, plan development. Step 3, community engagement. Step 4, ballot phase. And step 5, which is the final step, which is project installation. So as I mentioned earlier, all traffic calming projects are always community initiated. The process begins with a request from the community to the supervisor's office. Once the request is received, we will first complete an eligibility review. Next, we'll conduct a traffic study. And once it passes both the eligibility review and the traffic study, the community will then form a task force. There are eligibility requirements that need to be met. So number 1, it needs to be a VDOT maintained road. Number 2 has to be have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial. And if it's collector or arterial, it needs to meet a residential street. There is also a traffic study component. Here we have traffic study results for Forestville Drive. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 to 6,000 vehicles in 24 hours, both directions combined. For this project, we had 543, so we met the volume criteria. For speed criteria, the 85th percentile of speed needs to be greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. This means that 15% of vehicles need to be traveling 35 miles per hour or faster in at least one direction of travel. So on Forestville Lane, Forestville Drive, we found 39 in the northbound lane and 40 in the southbound lane, which means Forestville Drive met the speed criteria as well. So plan development is the second step. First, we will conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop a draft plan. Once we have a draft plan, we will meet with the task force to get feedback and then amend the plan if necessary. Once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, homeowners directly adjacent to any proposed measures will need to sign off on the placement of the device in order for the next step to happen. Okay, so here we have device placement requirements. Based on the guideline, we need a minimum of 300 feet between measures and existing stopping conditions. We need a minimum of 150 feet from any intersection, a minimum of 150 feet for adequate sight distance with any device, and it needs to be a fit on the existing roadway. So we need to take into account any driveways, manholes, or utilities. And we also need to take into account for the grade of the road. So based on those requirements, we were able to draft a plan and propose 2 speed humps and 1 speed table, as you can see on the map here. And once again, the addresses that are listed are the ones that signed off on the devices because they are adjacent to their homes. Okay, so here we have a graphic of a speed hump. So it's going to be 12 feet long and 3 inches at center. In addition to the speed hump, there will be a speed hump sign and the recommended 15 mile per hour sign on each side. There will also be white chevrons on each travel lane. Here we have a graphic of a speed table. So it's going to be 22 feet long versus the 12 feet of a speed hump and 3 inches high at center. And in addition to that, there will be a speed hump sign and have the recommended speed of 15 miles per hour on each side. And there will also be 2 white chevrons in each travel lane. Okay, so step 3 is a community meeting, which is where we are here today. This is where we present the plan to the community to obtain feedback. Based on the feedback, the task force will decide whether they want to amend the plan or proceed to the next step. If the task force decides to move forward, we can move forward to ballot phase. Each household in the ballot area will receive 1 vote. They will need to send it directly to the supervisor's office. The ballot period will be open for a minimum of 3 weeks, and the supervisor's office will tally the votes and notify the task force of results. Here we have an example of the ballot. The proposed devices will be listed on the ballot, and the community will be voting for the entire plan. The task force is responsible for distributing the valid ballot package to everyone in the ballot area. So there are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. One way is you can mail the ballot, you can hand deliver the ballot to the supervisor's office, or you can email it to the supervisor's office. Please do not return your ballot to the task force. Please use one of the 3 methods listed above. Here we have the ballot area map for Forestville Drive. So there are 54 ballots. And in order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all households to vote in favor. And so we will need a total of 28 yes votes. If we get the required number of yes votes, we can move on to step 5, which is project installation, which is the final step. So traffic calming plan will be presented to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement. And then that resolution will be sent to VDOT. STDOT will work with the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation. And finally, the traffic measures on the plan will be installed. And here is the end of the presentation. So we're going to move on to questions and answers. You have 2 options, chat or speak. Once the chat item is activated on Teams, you can use it by typing your question. And if you want to speak, click raise your hand icon that you'll be unmuted once it's your turn. If you are on the phone, please push *5 to raise your hand. When it is your turn, the host will call on you to ask your question. You need to push *6 to unmute. And after you are finished, you push *5 to unraise your hand. Thank you.
It looks like we have 2 people that have raised their hands. So we can start with the person that's at, it's a phone number, it's 966-2015. If you want to unmute and go ahead and ask your question. And that hand just went down. So we also have another question. It looks like it's from Bridget Manley. Bridget, you do have your hand up if you'd like to unmute.
Hello. Yeah, I just unmuted. I'm sorry. So this is Kurt Tran. So this calming device that you guys proposing to put on Forestville Drive, are we jumping the gun because on Forestville Drive there are no speed limit signs? There was construction going on right by Forestville Drive and Route 7, and VDOT finally put in a temporary speed limit sign of 25. And it's not even sitting on by the road. It's like 10, 15 feet in. Nobody's seeing the speed sign. So if we jump the gun and say there's no speed sign, but we're going to put in calming device, isn't that defeating the whole purpose? And the problem with Forestville Drive is not people coming in and drive too fast. It's when Forestville Drive going out to Route 7, okay? A couple of times I stopped at the red light, and when the red light turned green, and I tried to proceed on to crossing Route 7. People coming down Route 7 did not stop on that red traffic light. And so the dangerous is that people coming out Forestville Drive into Route 7 is more than people coming in. So I think maybe we are just jumping the gun here and just put speed device on the road. Let's put speed sign on Forestville Drive and some of the smaller roads so people know it is 25 miles. I mean, you coming in on a 55-mile Route 7 on the road, people are expecting to go 45, 35, okay? But people who live right there knew that it's 25 miles. It's the people that don't live in the area that's going too fast. So that's my recommendation before you put all these speed hump and bum all over the road, okay? That's it.
Okay, well, I do believe that the speed limit sign was placed on Forestville Drive before the construction on Route 7 started. Plus also Forestville Drive is a residential roadway, which are typically posted at 25 miles an hour throughout the state of Virginia. So we did the speed study, a few months back. I'm not positive what the status of was or what the status of the speed limit sign at that time, but it did qualify, and it qualified with some pretty high numbers when we did that data collection. So there is, a speed concern here, and I think it's just an opportunity for the community to determine if they want to address the speeding issue with these physical devices. And
I'm sorry. There's no permanent speed sign. There used to be one until they do the construction on Route 7. They removed that speed sign, and now there is a temporary sign that they just put on, and it's like, I think, 10, 15 feet off the road. So nobody's seen that sign when they turn on to Forestville Drive. So let's put some speed sign on the road that's required by VDOT first, and see how that works. Because if people don't see speed sign, they just flying through the road. And by putting bump in there for the local people, then the people who come in that don't see speed sign, they're gonna fly over these bumps. And I think that's more dangerous than not. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Michelle, I do believe, Michelle, you have your hand up. If you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Oh, perfect. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Hi there. This is Michelle Sanders. I'm president of the Wolf Trap Green HOA. And thank you very much to you all for meeting with us tonight. And thank you to the Traffic Calming Committee for all of their hard work. I just wanted, in response to the last community member, I just wanted to share a clarifying comment about that speed sign. I believe it had come down during the time of the construction, and we reached out to VDOT and Shirley Contracting, who put it back up. So that 25-mile-an-hour speed sign that's on the east side of Forestville as you come into the community is a permanent sign, just to clarify. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. And
okay, I believe Bridget had her hand raised. I can unmute her if she still has a question. Bridget, if you're unmuted, if you're ready.
it does look like Bridget might still be muted. I'm not sure. And perhaps we can get a little help there. It does look like Bridget, Grace is still muted.
Okay, so what usually is happening, Bridget, and for others that are joining in, when we select the unmute for you, you will get a notice or a notification to be unmuted, and then you'll just have to hit allow in order for that to work. So we will try again with you, Bridget, but I think John has his hand raised, so I'll go ahead and unmute John. John, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can get yours working as well. So go ahead and John, if you're ready to ask your questions.
Okay, it doesn't appear that we're.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got it. I'm a little. I'm looking in the wrong place. You can hear me now, I take it.
We can, John. Yes.
Okay, good. First of all, I want to comment on the thing we've been talking about. I've lived here 30 years. Most of those years, there have been clear speed limit signs on these roads. And I was a little surprised to hear that only 40% of the people are speeding over 35, because people have been speeding through this neighborhood for decades. So I don't think taking the sign down or putting another one up is going to make much of a difference. But my original question was, is there any sort of follow-up thing? I know that people in this neighborhood don't always respond to requests. Is there just the one mailing, or is there any kind of follow-up or reaction?
We can, when the ballots go out, we'll generally leave that ballot process open for, approximately 3 weeks. You can reach out to the supervisor's office, and Camilla should be able to tell you how many have come in. Then it would just be something that the task force would need to do to, send out a reminder to the people that receive ballots that they still need to vote. So we can't necessarily let you know what addresses we've received ballots from, but we can tell you the total that we've gotten back. So if it does seem like, the return is lagging, you can send out some kind of communication asking people to participate if they have it.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. I will mute again.
All right. Thank you, John.
Okay, and Bridget, I'm sorry if it's not working. You can also type in the chat with your question, and if you can't get your mic to work. But right now we have Arun Sama. I think, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, this is Arun Sama. We live on the Farmingdale Court Road. I'm a resident of 9390. And then, so what we've experienced while walking during either mornings or evenings is that people do kind of a very high speed cornering from Forestville onto Fairpine Lane. They make a left turn, and more so in the evenings than in the mornings. So, I would propose a device that's either on that part of Farmingdale or Forestville or on Fairpine Lane. I think that would be extremely that would be safe for the residents that take a walk in the evenings.
All right. Thank you, Arun. We were, looking at the area between Forestville, or I'm sorry, not Forestville, but from Farmingdale and Route 7. Unfortunately, we didn't have a long enough length of roadway to propose any measures in that area. I think when Nicole was going through her presentation, she kind of touched on the requirements that we have in the program, and we have some, distances from the traffic signal that we need to be at Leesburg Pike, and also from the intersection of Farmingdale Court, and we just didn't have enough room to propose anything in that area. So we would have preferred to, address something there, but we just didn't have the space.
Okay. Yeah, please revisit that. See if there's any measure that can be taken, because I'm sure you'll hear that from other members of the community that have experienced that kind of dangerous cornering kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, and Bridget, I see that you have written in your question. Bridget asks, what date will the ballots be going out to the community?
Well, that hasn't been determined yet. We're still waiting to finish the meeting tonight and see if the task force wants to move forward with this. If they do, then we'll send out the material to them that will need to be modified. It's up to the task force to make some modifications to the material that we send so it reflects the project that we're working on here. we would then okay that that the changes that they made conform to the requirements that we have for this process. And then once that happens, they would then make a determination on when they think they can produce the ballots and send them out. So I would anticipate that if the task force wants to move forward with this, that the ballots would probably be going out sometime at the end of September or the beginning of October, but that's just kind of an estimate. But that should be something that is doable if they want to move forward.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So we have Michelle. Michelle, you have your hand raised. We'll go ahead and send you a allow mic notification.
Okay, hi there. Thank you. So yeah, so we'll look forward to circling back. I just wanted to mention with the committee and Bridget and getting back to you here soon. Bridget, I'm sure you'll weigh in with any other thoughts on that. I wanted to go back to Arun's comment about Fairpine and to see what we could do if we wanted to open discussion or have VDOT take additional action there. I know that there were possibly 2 accidents that brought down the stop sign on Fairpine. And I know with all the construction, there were some family pets and so forth that were affected by some reckless driving there. So it's that Fairpine is a tough spot. And is there anything process wise that we could do to take follow-on action as part of this activity? Thank you.
I mean, like I said, it's because of the close proximity of the 2 intersections, we were just unable to fit anything at that area. It is kind of a large intersection. I'm not sure, but we're hopeful that if we do install the devices that we're proposing, we'll at least get some reduction in speed of the people that are outbound on Forestville headed towards Route 7. I realize that there's still, probably a concern about people, carrying too much speed as they come off of Route 7. But, at least with what we're proposing here, we're hoping we would be able to address the outbound traffic.
Is there a
Go ahead.
caveat? Is there a caveat process or something where we could ask for additional measures because that area is about to get widened coming into Forestville? I know it's dynamic at the moment. That roadway is about to get wider and people are going to be carrying quite a bit of speed coming off of 7. Is there anything we could do to just kind of put a footnote or a tag onto this process to relook at that given the construction? Thank you.
I mean, generally, we're going to look at, a 2-year wait period if devices are installed or if they're, go through the ballot process and it's not successful. We're have in place this, period of time that we want to wait before we revisit a project that we've worked on. So it would not be through here that we would do that unless you waited that 2 years and we still showed that there was a speeding concern on this roadway.
I just want to say that we could ask through the supervisor's office to have VDOT directly just look at the intersection and see if they have improvements, but it would be separate from this process.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to put a point out there. I think that's a good idea. I think for the committee, I would like to have VDOT look at that. And committee members, please join in if you have any other thoughts, but we'll circle back in writing with you on that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. We do have a written in question here from Patrice. Patrice asks, are there any other residential neighborhoods nearby that have resorted to speed bumps? And Steve, we do have several of them that have just recently been installed, I think on Bellevue, and we have one on Vernon Drive as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Vernon Drive is the closest to Forestville. Pardon me. I think it's a speed hump on that location.
Yes, it's a speed hump.
I do believe there are some speed tables down on Carper's Farm Way, which is a little further out on Route 7, on the south side of Route 7, that community members can go down and drive over to see what the speed table is like. Those are a little bit older. They've been in place for a number of years. The Vernon Drive and the Bellevue are more recent installations.
Yes, correct. And also, Patrice states, and won't this, or asks, and won't this just push a lot of traffic to Trotting Horse?
So, I mean, we're not really seeing too much displaced traffic from our devices. It is a possibility. We did study Trotting Horse quite a few years ago, and I don't think they were successful, and they went their ballot process. I don't remember if they did actually make it to a ballot process or if they just didn't get to that community meeting stage. But I don't think we're going to be pushing too much traffic down there to Trotting Horse. It's mostly going to, hopefully address the traffic that is flowing through on Forestville now.
Okay, and Patrice also states, so no worry, Patrice, if you came in late, I went ahead and put up the schematic for a speed table. So a speed table is going to be a little bit longer than a speed hump. So a speed table is 22 feet long and 3 inches at center. And the speed hump is going to be 12 feet long and 3 inches at center as well. Okay, and I believe, Scott, you have your hand raised. I'll go ahead and allow your mic. Hey, Scott, we should have sent you a allow mic notification. If it pops up on your screen, we'll give you some time. Okay, so it seems to me maybe just a little delayed on our half. So Scott, if you don't mind holding on, we can move on to a phone number call that is calling in. We'll go ahead and move to last digits are 2015. I'll go ahead and allow you with the mic.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, this is Kurt again. On that speed sign, I still kind of like concerned because the speed sign on Forestville Drive going north, okay, is not right next to the road. And it's really about 15 feet in because all this construction and all those drain water damage that they were doing there. So people will not see the speed sign, okay? And I don't think there's a speed sign going on Forestville Drive south toward Route 7. So if I can recommend to the task force to come out there and study the speed sign problem and get that rectified first, and see how that goes, especially when they are widening Forestville Drive. Anything we do right now gonna be, affected by that. So if we put in the speed bump in, we might want to wait until they finish that road, make sure the speed sign is in place, both southbound and northbound, and the speed sign on Fairpine and the side road. Because, if you don't put speed sign on there, people are just gonna fly by. And so my recommendation is the task force should go out there and study the speed sign again before we do this voting and recommendation. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And we can go out and take a look at that speed limit sign, see if it's not located in a very good place. There is activity as far as construction is concerned there, so it might just be, as you said, a temporary installation that will be permanently put in place once the construction is finished in a place where it's more easily viewable by the drivers. But I do want to say, as far as the outbound on Forestville, I'm not positive that VDOT is going to place a speed limit sign on the end of a roadway that doesn't have an outlet at the back end. And I'm not sure if they are going to be placing speed limit signs on Fairpine. If there's not one in place now, I don't think they're going to be looking to put one there now. So they don't necessarily put speed limit signs on every residential roadway. And I believe that Michelle has her hand up again. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes, so Michelle will go ahead and send you a unmute notification or allow a mic notification, and it should have been just sent right now. And if we are having any, oh, sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, were the speed signs within the scope of this assessment? I was trying to remember. Thank you.
No, so the speed limit sign is going to be something that VDOT is going to have responsibility for installing and maintaining. So I would imagine that they would, once the construction is done, then they would probably come back in, hopefully, and place that speed limit sign in a permanent spot that will hopefully be easily viewable by drivers as they pull into Forestville from Route 7.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Michelle.
I was just gonna say, I didn't realize I could still talk. So that might be something that, as we're writing in about the VDOT follow-up due to the construction and the fact that the intersection is dynamic, we'll also follow up just for the group. We'll follow up and mention the signage piece to be revisited. Can you also please clarify with the speed humps, do they have signs either side of the humps?
They do, and I do believe that Nicole has the schematic up on the screen right now. So you're going to have a speed hump sign with a 15-mile-an-hour recommended placard below it. So it's just that kind of sign configuration that's on the screen right now, if you can see. So it's facing in both directions.
Okay, thank you. And I know another example in the neighborhood a little further out off of Georgetown Pike is Kimberwick. And I think they have a similar configuration as to what we're looking at on Kimberwick, just for those in the call to consider. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Kimberwick, I do believe, has a 2 new speed humps and a raised crosswalk that is it's been in place for a number of years.
Okay, and thank you. Scott, I know that you were trying to raise your hand and ask a question. If you're unable to get your mic working, or from our end it's unable to send to you, feel free again to type into the chat, and I'm sorry for any difficulties you might have. So here we have a question written in or a comment written in from Bridget. She says, I just want to comment on the fact that our street has been used by car dealers as a test drive route, and I have seen high speeds from the cul-de-sac southbound out of the neighborhood from these test drives. They do not care what the posted speed limit is. And thank you for letting us know, Bridget.
And so Nicole has put up on the screen right now contact information for our office. So if you do have a question concerning the project for Forestville Drive, the traffic calming project for Forestville Drive, you can reach out and send us an email. And that email address is dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov. And in the subject line, just put Forestville Drive traffic calming. And the phone number here is 703-877-5600. You can make that call and ask to talk to somebody about the Forestville Drive traffic calming project. You can also reach out to the Drainsville District Supervisor's Office. Their email address is drainsville@fairfaxcounty.gov. And in the subject line, you would just put the same information, the Forestville Drive traffic calming. Or you can call 703-356-0551 and ask to talk to somebody about the Forestville Drive traffic calming project, and you will most likely be directed to Camilla.
Okay, it looks like we have a remark written in from Scott. Scott says, remark on the 25-mile-per-hour signage. The Beltway has 55 miles per hour, but do most drivers really obey the speed limit?
And so, I mean, I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question, but, you know, I would assume that most people do not obey most of the posted speed limits. And that is why we do have the physical devices to help kind of remind people that they should be driving a little bit slower when they're driving on a residential roadway.
Okay, so we still have the floor open for any questions, comments, or concerns. Once again, I can go ahead and switch to the page on how to raise your hand or ask questions. And if you are having difficulties with your mic, please type in the chat as well.
And if we don't have any more questions tonight, I think the next step will be for the task force to determine if they want to go to the ballot process. If they do, they can just reach out to Camilla at the Drainsville District Office. Let her know that you do want to go to ballot on the devices proposed here tonight for Forestville Drive. We will get templates to the task force that can be filled out, modified to reflect the project here for Forestville Drive. And it basically the ballot packet will contain a cover letter explaining the process and what's being proposed. The ballot that was shown to you earlier as a sample, or the sample that was shown to you earlier for the ballot, and then also the schematics that that pertain to the devices that are being proposed for this particular project, and then also a map of the plan, which we would then provide to the task force. So if there are any questions about that, you can just contact us or the Drainsville office, and we will talk you through whatever needs to be explained regarding the mailing for this ballot.
Okay, Steve. Patrice has a written in question. Patrice says, I have a quick question. Was any thought given to installing a stop sign at one of the intersections, or do you think that wouldn't solve the problem? like Meadow, Shire, and Forestville.
So as it was pointed out earlier in the presentation, we aren't able to use stop signs through this process. When you do have a speeding issue, it's not really considered the appropriate method to use a stop sign to slow people down. Those are basically used at intersections to cue traffic, or to control the flow of traffic through an intersection. If you do feel that you have concerns with the movement of traffic through a particular intersection, you would need to reach out to VDOT and let them know that you're having, a high level of crashes, or there's sight distance issues at a particular intersection, and you feel that it needs to be changed to a multi-way stop condition as opposed to a two-way stop condition. But generally, we are not using stop signs as speed control devices.
Okay, and Patrice says no, just think it would slow things down. But if you don't use it that way, I get it. Thank you, Patrice. And then we have Arun. Arun, you have your hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and allow your mic. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Pratima. I'm Arun's wife. Arun has introduced our family already. I was raising my hand and my voice to make a point that the speed bumps that you're considering, we would like to have one closer to the Forestville Drive and Farmingdale Court intersection. Where anywhere there. And here is why. People who are driving from the cul-de-sac at the end of Forestville Drive and coming on to Route 7, they literally come out as bullets coming out of a shotgun, especially if the traffic light is green. So we need a speed bump to reduce that. And it's the same the other way as well, people coming from Route 7, but that they're just picking up speed. But I am more concerned about people who are coming towards Route 7 intersection to reach that traffic light. We always see cars coming very fast. So would you please consider that?
So we did put one on the far side of that intersection, as close to that intersection as our criteria allow. So it's about 150 feet from that proposed speed hump to the intersection that you're concerned about. And unfortunately, through this process, or through our program, we are not able to place them any closer than where we've proposed that first measure. So we do have a setback distance from intersections, and that distance is 150 feet. And I think we're right at about 150 feet to the center of that first device. So, we looked at it, we got it as close to that intersection as we possibly could. We wanted to start, slowing down the traffic as soon as we can, coming off of Route 7, and also as they approach Route 7. As you said, they do approach it rather fast, especially if they're seeing a green light. So that is placed as close to that intersection as we can get it, given the requirements that we have for the program.
Is there a possibility to place another hump between Route 7 and that intersection?
So again, we needed like 450 feet of a road length between that traffic signal at Route 7 and Forestville Drive, and then the intersection of Farmingdale and Forestville. And unfortunately, we just don't have that distance there on that length of roadway to consider a device. Otherwise, we would have proposed one as we went through this process. So right now, we do have basically all the devices that we can place in and around that intersection. So, was taken under consideration when we were out in the field. We just, when we were doing our field review, found that we were short on road length there.
What is the road length there between Route 7 and
It's
Farmingdale Court?
it's about 415 feet. So we would have needed an additional, 35 to 40 feet for that to fit.
So it's not the same 150 that we heard that we need from, if it is 150 from Route 7 and 150 feet from Farmingdale Court, that would work.
Correct, but because of the traffic signal, we need 300 feet from that traffic signal. So we do need additional feet or additional distance as a setback from a stop condition, as Nicole had pointed out earlier. So from a stop sign or from a traffic signal, we need 300 feet of road length before we can start proposing devices. And we just don't have that road length between those two intersections to fit one in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
If there is any way, if you have a different approach or so, please consider that. But I think I've made my case. And if you find another alternative, you'll consider that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do also have a written question here from Bridget. She asks, who has determined the device placement requirements, statute, VDOT?
So it's kind of a combination. It's VDOT does have their spacing requirements, and we've kind of built ours off of their spacing requirements. So VDOT does in their policy ask or say that they need to see 200 feet away from an intersection. We've reduced that down to 150 feet, and that is their primary spacing requirement. They don't really acknowledge distances away from stop conditions, but we do have that in the county's requirements for the program for our policy and procedures. So it was kind of like a combination. We built our spacing requirements off of what VDOT has. We were trying to make it a little bit more reflective of the, kind of urban and suburban environment that we find in Fairfax County.
Okay, thanks, Steve. As of right now, we don't have any questions. We'll give a couple more minutes for people if they're typing in the chat, if they have any follow-up questions, comments, or concerns. Once again, you can reach out to our office or the Drainsville office to Ms. Camilla, and if you have any questions.
And again, if you want to put up that contact information, Nicole, for people to see one more time. And as we stated earlier, it is the next step would be for the task force to make the determination if they want to go to the ballot process. And if they do, we will get them the material that they need to modify to go ahead and move forward into the balloting. And Camilla, is there anything that you would like to add before we close it down for the evening?
No, I'm just thanking everyone for being here, and thank you all, as always, for the presentation. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me.
All right, and it does not look like we're getting any more questions into the chat, and nobody else has their hand up. So we will be okay. All right. Thank you, Bridget, and we will, turn that information around as soon as it's requested. So everybody have a good night and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you and have a good night.
So